What up, everybody? Big D coming at you, aka Sicky McGillicuddy. Man, I've been dealing with whatever this is that I've got since last week. Oh, look at that! Again, reverb coming back. There we go. Man, it's been a rough last week. I'll tell you what. So glad to see everybody here. We got a great guest coming on tonight. Super excited for him. He's one of my favorite people in the industry. But before I bring him on and we get started, as a reminder, if you click the link tree that I have pinned into the comment section there, they'll take you over. Has all my advertisers, sponsors, and preferred retail partners going on. So if you're looking for cigars, you're looking for accessories, I got you covered. There's promo codes in there for you to save yourself some coinage on that. So please go show them some love. Because, they help continue to put the programming on that you guys show up for every week. And, take advantage of the exclusive discounts and deals that they're offering my viewers out there. So, get yourself some smokes, get yourself some accessories, whatever you want. I got you covered. I'm taking care of you, the people out there, because I care about you. All right, tonight, my guest, industry veteran, he's a real sommelier, owns his own brand. His brand took off last year when he announced it, and I knew immediately as soon as he got it, this is going to be a banging stick. He put out one of my top 10 sticks from last year. This year, he's coming at you with a brand new stick that's equally as banging. And if you saw the Raw cigar reviews last month, he was my guest on with the beautiful Brandy from her cigar closet, and we did smoke the cigar. Yeah, it's a perfect 10 on that cigar. But, this is the interview series, so a little bit more intimate, more one-on-one, and things you may have wanted to know about our guest tonight. You get the chance to be able to ask him. So, without further ado, we'll bring on our guest tonight from Somm Cigars. We got the one, the only, Vlad.
Hey, guys. How are you doing tonight?
Good, man. Glad to have you
back. Making sure he's there. Good to see you guys.
Good to see you too. So Vlad, glad to have you on, man. You, as I said, you're one of my favorite people in the industry. Getting to know you over the last few years, all your knowledge, everything that you put forth. It seems like you decided enough of me working for the man. I'm going to be the man, and I'm going to put all this years of experience into making my own babies.
It was interesting because, I didn't go the usual rep route, if you will. Rather, I just decided to import the stuff and sell it from there. So I basically acted as a distributor. So it was good. I've been doing that since 2017, which Jesus makes it now 7 years. Time flies. A lot of really, really interesting things learned over the years, and more importantly, some really, really great relationships forged. You have the Rioja that we launched I guess a month and a half now, right? At TP.
Yes.
That was a really fun raw review. And then Brandy actually came down to see me at the Humidor Lyle event. That's the Toro or the Robusto? Can't
this
really tell.
The Toro.
Hell yeah.
I've yet to smoke one, so I'm excited to light this one up tonight. I haven't smoked in a week, so this is probably going to taste delicious.
That should be really, really good. Did you just come down with something?
Yeah, I got sick after the show last Monday night, and I've been down for the count for the last week.
Man, you got sick after a show with me? Was it really that bad? Jesus. I thought we got a perfect 10 on that raw review. What is this? I know.
Well, apparently my palate was skewed. Yes, I've been down for the count. I haven't smoked for a week. Today's like the first day I've actually felt great since last Monday.
Fantastic. Knock on wood. Cool. So some exciting stuff. I'm joining with oh man, this is good. Sorry, that was just you guys said an insight into my brain right there. Inner voice. This is the Connecticut that'll launch at PCA. Almost said TP because habit. So this will launch at PCA. You'll probably see me, one of the 3 days, and you'll have a chance to try this. So this is 6.5 by 54. I played around with the sizes. So there's three different sizes. It'll launch with the 5.5 by 52 Robusto and a 6.5 by 54 Toro, and then probably a few months down the line, a Corona Gorda will be added for all of you smaller engage lovers, and of course for myself. But don't really tell anybody else. And you're enjoying the Rioja Toro. The reception has been incredible. Just consistently really, really good. Made it Eladio Diaz's factory, right? So we had the Robusto or the Toro on the
we had the Robusto on the show. So
yeah. So if you remember the profile, right? We go back to, and we talked about it. We touched a little bit on it on the raw review. Everything's blended to size. So you'll see that there's a little bit of a profile difference between the Robusto and the Toro. The Robusto comes out much, much creamier, sweeter, up front, at least in the first third, and then second third is going to be very similar to what you're experiencing now in the Toro, right? Which is going to be those baking spices, the vanilla, the cedar, the those roasted nuts. There's like almonds, pistachio, walnuts. Definitely that side of the spice rack.
Yeah, one thing I noticed right up front, I'm looking at my notes from the show we did last month on there. So the one thing I'm noticing right up front is that this is very spice and pepper forward right off of the first couple draws that I was not getting off of the first couple draws off of the Robusto. So.
No, definitely. Robusto is definitely a lot more creamy forward.
Yes.
Just a lot more approachable, if that's the right word to use. So if you enjoy a touch more spice in your profile, Toro is definitely the way to go, which is such an interesting thing. We just did this East Texas Cigar Festival, Tobacco Junction in Longview. So we had a really, really good time. And there was such an easy way to, I'd kind of break it down because people were rushed a little bit, and we were like, hey, where do you want to go? Do you want some spice forward, something creamy? They're like, creamy. I'm like, perfect. We have a great for you. They're like, hey, I want something more spicy. Be like, do I have a Toro for you, sir? That was a really, really good experience.
Very good. Give a shout out here to the GOAT, the legend, Bob the Cigar Guy. Love you, my man.
Hey, Bob. He's based up in Oregon or Washington?
He's in South Carolina.
Oh. Don't mind me. I'm an immigrant. Geography ain't working for me.
That knows geography. That's all right. Yeah, I mean, off the bat, I really like that. I'm enjoying the kind of spicy ticklishness on my lips. It's very, very enjoyable. I'm enjoying the first few puffs so far on the stick.
For sure. And then as you work through that first third, it'll morph back into the creaminess you find on the Robusto, and then it'll go back to the spiciness on the last third. Yeah. So very, very engaging, very complex, beautiful, easy to pick up transitions.
Jack, I got to say that the Robusto is that perfect combination of spice and creamy, like all at once. It's very good, and you kind of get hit in waves, and then you kind of get hit together with both. The Robusto is fantastic, man.
Man, you keep mentioning spice. Did you actually watch Dune 2 yet?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it yet either, and it's just been bugging me. Like, I got to go this week. I watched it with my girlfriend Shannon. We watched it yesterday, the Dune 1, right? She's like, I just need to, catch up on everything, and I'm like, great, let's do that. I've read all the books, played a bunch of video games as a kid. If you guys are young and if you're the correct vintage and you remember Dune 2000, I played that as an RTS. So pretty interesting. Dodge the worms.
Bob, yes, we will see you in Vegas. I will be over at the Family by Loyalty booth. So look forward to seeing you again there, legend. Yeah. So when did the aspiration for you hit that I kind of want to do my own thing?
So I think we touched upon it on the raw reviews too, like the whole plan with the Somm side of it was kind of like a test bed for all the brands that I was working with at the time, and a celebration of friendships and partnerships and just all the other good things that come with it. And that didn't quite work out, so I took it the other way, and I'm like, hey, you know what? Like, let's make this a standalone thing and go from there. And rather than approach it, it's also a slightly frustrating point when working with something that isn't necessarily yours, so you can only suggest rather than drive it. I fought for 4 years, I want to say, to get barcodes on a certain line of cigars. And I don't think now, even 6 years later, the barcodes are still not there. So in the meantime, pull out one of the Riojas, right? It's barcoded. Very, very, I approached it a little bit differently and said, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make it retailer friendly from a design standpoint. And I want to, if you do decide to treat yourself, I wanted to make it a 10 count box, because if you decide to support my brand, I want to make sure that you walk away with something tangible, something you can touch, and that, I might be a touch biased, but I think the boxes are beautiful. Mm-hmm. I think they look really, really great, and I really love them. They really did a great job in DR. So are the other ones, the burgundy colored ones. The rings are actually, funnily enough, so if you smoked the BDX before, you'll notice in the next run, you'll notice that the rings have been updated. I'm very much into being detail oriented, so there is a quality difference between. Give me just a second. The difference between the purple rings, the BDX ones, and Rioja. These are just getting updated and being done on much higher quality paper with much better embossing. It's going to look the part. It's going to look how the cigar tastes. So really, really good.
Exactly. Well, the BDX was a very, 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 very good cigar. And there's a reason why it was in my top 10 for last year. It was one of those sticks.
What's your favorite size out of those? That's a really interesting question.
The Robusto is my favorite.
Really?
Size. Yeah. Okay. It hits on multiple levels, because every time I smoked one, there was just something about it that brought back memories, and it, flavors were always on point. Of everything I smoked last year, only a handful, I could probably count on one hand, that everything I smoked, making multiple orders, so I know I'm getting stuff from different boxes out of there coming in, but the consistency, it was one of the most consistent cigars I smoked last year. I never had any structural problems. I had no draw problems. I didn't have problems with the cigar falling apart. Everything, it was consistent. The flavor stayed consistent every time I smoked one. So, it's a true testament, because you had the guys at Cavalier down in Honduras manufacture the BDX, and I know the quality that Sebastian and Brian put into everything that they do. So there'd be no different that the quality that they would produce for you would be any less.
Correct. I'm very, very proud of the consistency, and then I'm a big believer in transparency. So if you look at those BDX boxes, typically you'll get the run when they were rolled and then how big that run was. I think for the most part, everything now is going to be, that last run. There might be a few boxes that say 2022 that I kind of kept back December, which was, if you think about it, that was PCA time last year. And I know you're such a stickler for that, consistency. And you'll reference your Rolodex, your absolute impressive stack of documentation to back it up. So I'm just very, very happy that it's been consistent. Throughout.
Yeah, and I was, it was. I think of all the cigars I smoked last year, I can count on one hand the amount of cigars that were consistent through everything I smoked, and the BDX was one of those. And I have no doubt that, Eladio Diaz has high standards of everything that comes out of his factory. out there. I have no doubt that I'm going to get the same consistency out of the Rioja this year.
Yeah, I have no doubt. I'm also all right. A little friendly. Everybody watching this is in a little circle of trust. Right. So this year I did the Corona Gorda in the BDX format as a little birthday treat for myself. I'm gonna make, well, knock on wood, I'm gonna make some Lanceros in the Rioja blend for next year. Maybe we'll have some samples BCA. Don't hold me to it, because if we do, they'll be a couple of weeks old at best. So probably not something you want to taste, but I'm definitely going to play around. And if that works, we'll start rolling them May, June, maybe earlier, and then ready for my birthday next year, which is, couple of weeks, was a couple of weeks before this. So 26th of February, we might have it for TP next year. Something interesting.
Yes. So your thought process when you're going into wanting to create your own brand out there, with your expensive knowledge of cigars, being a sommelier, did you think that going in through the blending process and the ideas that you had were gonna work?
Huh. I'll go back to when I was sitting at that blending table with Brian. So I mostly went down as an exploration journey. It wasn't set out like, hey, I'm going to go and like make X. I talked to them, right, which I do at every factory. It's kind of, hey, what do you have that's old, interesting, special, unique? And they showed me the Honduran broadleaf. At that point, it was harvested in 2020. This was 2022, and then it was released the year in 2023, because I'm a big believer, like, this needs to sit for 6 months. It needs to rest. I'm not going to use the words aging, because it's not really aging, it's resting. Needs to rest for 6 months, and I've definitely seen how big of a quality or quality of a life experience it is once it actually sits. Obviously, that complicates a bunch of other things, but I'm a big believer in that. So I tried the Honduran broadleaf, really loved it, and then because I'm a nerd, like, I keep notes similar to yours, maybe not as detailed, but I ended up like putting that together, and I'm like, cool, like Honduran broadleaf seems like a good fit. Like, let me do San Andreas, let me do Visa Jalapa. That kind of counterbalances each other. And then in the filler, I did San Andreas and Visa Jalapa again. So you don't really see San Andreas often in the filler, which was an interesting thing. And Brian tried it, Sebastian tried it, Jack tried it, who's at the factory, and then Raul. They all tried it. Like, there's something here. I'm like, cool. Like, let's put them in production. And Sebastian asked the question, well, what happens if you can't sell it? And I love him, because my answer was, and still is, with each of the blends. And I'm like, you know what? I don't really care. I'm making this for myself, and hopefully there's another person that loves it. And here we are 50,000 cigars later, and like in that particular blend, and apparently people did like it enough. So yeah, exciting. I set it up kind of like, hey, I have an idea of where I want to go with the profile. I know what kind of an experience I want to deliver, which is, I want it to be complex. I want it to have a couple of very distinct transitions throughout the journey. And it is about the flavor and the complexity of the profile, rather than just raw nicotine strength or just about the body. So there's a signature between all the blends that have been done under the Somm brand, from going all the way back to the Premier Cru, which was that limited edition from Kellner Boutique Factory, which I did not blend. I picked it. Kellner Jr. blended it for me. Over 50 years worth of aged tobacco, and that was really something. BDX I did make, and then Rioja I got it 99% of it there, and I just needed tiny little, that little joke where it's like, hey, the mechanic comes over and like they can't fix a very difficult piece of machinery, and he moves it a little bit, and they say, okay, that's $2 million.
Yeah.
That's kind of the setup, right? I just needed 50, 60 years worth of experience to tighten the screw a little bit more and like make sure that actually works. And then the Connecticut is completely my blend. I want to say we've spent weeks, months, years working on this. I really didn't. I knew where I was going. I knew what I liked. When I got to the factory, I basically had 95% of the blend done. just from trying and looking at notes previously. And I'm like, all right, I know where I want to go. The only real question mark there was, am I going to put a quarter leaf of piloto or a half leaf of piloto, and then which sizes? So playing around with the sizing and which was it, a quarter or a half leaf of piloto, ended up taking about 2 days. The box press, the box press with a half leaf is incredible. However, not something that I really wanted to look for in this blend. It's absolutely amazing, and I'll probably bring them in, not in this importation, but the following one. They'll be event only. There's only 1,000 made, and I've really did make those basically for myself. And for people who like come to events and want to have something special, they'll be in 5-count packs, no different than the Connecticut's, which is kind of a new territory that I haven't been really doing before. So they'll be in 5-count packs that, well, you guys will see in a little bit. We'll go live.
Listen, you have to wait. Don't worry. You have to wait.
No. We'll really do it. I don't want to spoil the surprise because it is. I don't think anybody. It isn't like me. Oh my god, this is like something groundbreaking. It's just like I don't think anybody has packaged stuff in this particular way before. Gives you all the transparency, all the information that you would expect to find in the BDX and the Rioja, and it's a beautiful little 5-count pack with this absolutely beautiful label outside meant to evoke a wine label. So hopefully when you guys see it, and we'll go live when you come to the booth, so it'll be exciting for everybody.
And when you started, was the reception when you started talking to some of the factories out there positive? Because you already, unlike me, if somebody like me wanting to do what you do, I really don't have the in that you have. So you kind of already coming in as a new brand, but your connections that you've made in your years of working in the industry, helped out. So was the reception like, oh, good for you, or we've been waiting for you to do something like this?
Very, very, very supportive and very receptive. I was lucky enough for Hendrik to share that really, really magnificent tobacco with that first run. And then Brian and Sebastian and I, I think we're very good friends. I've been a supporter of Cavalier since, whenever I went to Cigar Art for the first time, which was back in 2016, 2017. I don't really even remember, but they still lived in the Dallas area. They were still in probably a handful of shops. And then Brian and I have become good friends, primarily because, again, when he was on the Illusione side, right, they were facilitation partners, and we kind of had similar backgrounds from a career standpoint. He used to work in the hospitality side, and he used to work for Ritz. So, and again, he loves food. I love that both of us share, very, very deeply, and he's got a fantastic palate. And so we hit it off like really, really quickly, and then became friends over the, whatever, it feels like a lifetime ago, but essentially it's been like 3 or 4 years. So really, really good stuff. They were very receptive. I mean, I'm very happy that, Eladio Diaz and his factory, allowed me to work with him more than anything, because there's only, 3 brands coming out of there? 3 or 4. Mine being the smallest and, the nearest and dearest to my heart, if I can be a little biased there.
I think you're allowed to be biased out
Just
there.
a little bit.
It's yours. It's your baby. I mean,
Yeah.
You had the idea. You had the concept. You knew what you wanted to do, and you went to the brands that could assist you with what you were looking for and what you wanted to do. I mean, really, you've got 3 cigars out right now from 3 different manufacturers who are all big, heavy hitters. Legends out there, the Kellners out there, and the Diaz's. Those are legendary families there. And Brian and Sebastian are on that legendary trajectory.
Speaking of which, I don't know if this will end up going into production or not, but here's an old Titan blend that I'm working on. So
yeah, and you probably just walked right into El Titan.
It was an interesting conversation. It was an interesting conversation because I called him, and I asked them if they have availability, if they'd be interested in doing a small run, a couple of thousand cigars. They told them that I'm in a rush, that, it's done when it's done, and it'll go out when it's ready. So they said, yeah, absolutely. Like, what are you looking for? And I went with, all right, cool. For the wrapper, I want this. For the binder, I want this. For the filler, I want this, this, and this. I want a half leaf here, a leaf and a half here, two leaves of this. Like, I want 3 different blends. There was just silence on the other side, and I go, hello? They're like, yeah, I'm still here. I go, well, she goes, well, we typically don't work this way. We work in a way where, you tell us what profile you kind of want to go to, and we'll blend it for you. Now, I'm sure there's, people who have done this multiple times, have a different set than, me walking off the street. But I asked I apologize because I didn't know those were the house rules, if you will. So I did, well, would you be interested in doing it my way? Like, can we make something out of the blends that, out of the tobaccos that are listed here? So they go, yeah. However, we're asking if we could make our blend based on the tobaccos you gave us. Again, I don't know why I would say no. So of course I was like overjoyed, because again, I'm not trying to prove I'm right. I'm trying to make the best possible combination. So I said, absolutely, under one condition. If that 4th blend, can you mark them all 1 through 4? So that way I won't know who made what. And they said, absolutely. So they did. I got the samples a little while ago, probably about a 2 month and a half ago. So I've tried them. I am 99% sure that one of the blends was mine. A reject, by the way. No, I'm sure. I put way too much Ligero, so there were some slight combustion issues. And to their credit, and I love them for this, much like every other factory, they let me make my mistakes, which is one of the best ways to learn. Yeah, it's better to learn on someone else's mistakes, but I'm a little headstrong, so thank you guys for letting me make my own mistakes. Ultimately, the profile was good. It was going where I wanted it, but there were clear technical issues, which again, I wouldn't have, theoretically I would have known, but it was more fun discovering it that maybe being headstrong is not the greatest of moves. One of the blends did work out, so I have another set of samples arriving hopefully this week. So I'll know probably by PCA if that'll go into production or not. But I'm very, very happy with how it's turning out and how the blends in general have shown. There's one of them is just incredible complexity. Nice ash, baby.
Yeah, beautiful burn, nice ash, getting some nice oiliness coming off that wrapper.
I love Corojo so much. It's such a polarizing wrapper. People either love it or don't. And I blended around it a little bit, so it ended up being, I think it adds a ton of complexity to that particular blend.
One thing that caught my eye was Luxury Cigar Club's February Palladium box. It was a featured cigar.
They're very, very good friends, and we've been working with them, or I've been working with them. Let me preface this. Since their first box. So when they had, I want to say like 60 people, 40 or 60 people, something like that, years at this point, probably 2018, 2019, I don't remember, to be honest. I worked with them with their very, very, very first box. And it was great. It was very exciting to see it happen. I remember Ben approaching me. Ben and Chris kind of, they approached it very much like, hey, we're trying to do something else. I don't know if the brands you're currently working with are like interested in something like this. And, they told me what they're doing. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I'd love to do something with you guys if you want. Like, we can, right, luxury when they first started are not what they are now. There wasn't, I was like, yeah, sure. If, we can do a Zoom, we can do a live. Like, you want me to put something up? And they've been fantastic partners in literally every single thing that I've done since. So great people, great club. Yeah,
I've been a Palladium member since 2019, and that's really how I got introduced to you, which was through a couple of the brands that you used to work with out there were featured in the box, and really kind of had me seek you out because I wanted to know more about them. And so that it kind of led me to try more of those brands, and it led me to seek you out because you were really kind of, from when I was doing research, were kind of the face behind a lot of the promotions and out there and at the booths and what you were doing. So that's again, the cigars bringing people together.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they do.
It was fun running the narrative, and rather than come up with the narrative, it was like, I'm just gonna do Lewis asked which is the best Somm. So huh, the nearest and dearest to
I
my
can't
heart.
tell you that. I can tell you they're all 1A, 1B, and 1C, and I can't give you the order of which they go in.
That's actually how those blends arrived, believe it or not. The nearest and dearest to my heart is the Premier Cru, which was, I don't know if you'll be able to find it. Honestly, I saw a few boxes when I was in Texas last month, and I bought two of them, some to kind of share with friends and family. Very, very small amount made. Everybody who's had them are incredible. I mean, that has 54 years worth of aged tobacco. I should have, again, folly, right? Like I should have kept a bunch of them aside for me. But I'm just happy people smoked them. People loved them. I did an event in Humidor of Isle a little over a year ago. Very, very interesting pairing with Lagavulin and smoked tea. And it was incredible. Truly one of the experiences that were unforgettable. BDX is if you enjoy that darker side of the baking spices and profile and your dark chocolates, your earthiness, right? It's the San Andreas really does come through, but the Honduran broadleaf gives beautiful, absolutely beautiful dark plum or dark jammy plum, really, and then raisins. So if you like that profile, the BDX, you're gonna love that. And then Rioja, depending on where you skew, you can go for the Rioja Robusto, which is going to be more creamier and just more sweetness up front. Yes. So Eduardo, I'm not based in Texas. I am in Vegas. I will go to Texas probably 2 more times before the end of the year. If you're in the DFW area, there's 6 or 7 shops. Feel free to check out the website. Actually, don't check out the website. I owe the guys. I need to upload the shops, so don't check it out yet. But if you're in the DFW area, you know what? Reach out on Instagram. Let me know where you are, or even tell me here, and I'll point you in the right direction. Yeah. I have a shop in every city apart from Houston, but we'll have that after PCA.
Let's see.
PA, yes, we have
Pennsylvania.
Smoke
He's
Manion.
in the Philly area.
Okay, in Philly, you have Smoke. Go to Costa and Eli, talk to them, ask them about the Riojas and the BDX. They might actually have some Premier Crus as well, which I'd be very, very interested if they do. And then if you are close to Mechanicsburg, there's a beautiful area from a good friend, Billy Morrison. He just opened at 611 Lounge in Mechanicsburg. They have everything apart from the Premier Cru. So you're in Philly, hit up Smoke. There in Manayunk, Main Street. Eat the PB&J burger in the bar close by. It's 4 shops down from the fire department.
Hey, I only remember that was when you won that giveaway from me, and I mailed your stuff out to you. I remember you were in Philly. That's it. That's the only reason why I remembered you were in the Philly area.
And Eduardo, give my best to Eli and Costa if they're there, and Will if he's there. The guys at the shop are great. I've worked with them since 2017 or 2018. They're coming up on their 10th anniversary, and I think I'll go out there in about 2 months. I think I owe it to them and myself. Also, there's a signed box where I lost the chugging competition. I felt kind of gypped in that one. So he bet that I can't chug a beer faster than he can. Which he did not mention, right? You look at the beer and it was it's just a lager, but it was a watermelon sea salt lager, which when I took a sip kind of, shocked me. I wasn't expecting it. Not that it was bad. It was delicious. I just, that 1 second of perception was like, what the hell? That cost me. So there's an autographed box somewhere. They ended up buying it full retail, by the way, to give out of the most expensive stuff we had. So that was a nice way to get hustling immigrant.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's fantastic. This fantastic. I can taste the noticeable difference between the Brusto and the Toro. Very noticeable on it. Both are very good. I almost feel at times they're two different cigars.
It really comes down to what are you craving for? You're about to hit that halfway mark on the Toro. Now it's going to make a like 180-degree turn and go into creaminess. But I've been smoking a ton of those depending on what's my mood. And the fact that I can have two, I don't want to say vastly different experiences, but different takes on the same experience. Imagine if you're a rookie smoker, Juan, I definitely go with the Rioja Robusto, 100%. And yes, I will be at PCA. I have my booth between open on all four sides, and then I'll have the Connecticut, which if you stop by, you'll be able to see and taste this, which is a new, very, very approachable, light to medium bodied, very, very delicious. In fact, like my mouth salivating as I'm talking about it, like super delicious, tons of sweetness, light to medium, medium to full flavor, tons of flavor, very, very light. Well, light to medium in terms of body, light to medium in terms of strength. You could smoke 15 of these, and maybe not time wise. Like, I don't think you'd have the time in a day, but you hypothetically could. I kind of overdid it when I was in Honduras, actually. So Brian can testify to this. I made those blends. We ended up making 10 samples just to make sure that, this is it. So I smoked 8 6.5 by 54s throughout the day, plus other stuff. But yeah, did you see there's a little gradient, and I wish more people would notice that. I had a designer actually take note of that there's a gradient on the Rioja that goes from dark all the way to light from the top of the way the Somm is written. And they're like, oh my God, this is incredible. Like, that's such a beautiful little detailed touch. And I'm like, yeah, you're like the first person to ever comment on it. And he's like, why'd you do it? And I go, well, I hope there was another person like me out there who'll notice this. And he started laughing. So there's a little neat trick. And then the lighters, by the way, I might have, let's not celebrate it yet. I'm waiting for a sample, but I'll have the lighters in the same purple BDX color. And if they do arrive and they look good and dashingly handsome as I'm expecting them to be, you're getting one of them.
Okay. Like, I won't turn it down. I do enjoy lighters. I only have like 32 sitting here on the table.
But come on.
See, when you showed me that at TPE, I was impressed. I was like, wait, you got soft flame and a torch on it? Dang. That's a little too fancy for me.
In Texas, they told me they flew with it. I said, I mean, I don't recommend doing it, and definitely can't recommend it. But he's like, they stopped me. I just said it's a regular soft flame, and they let me through. And I'm like, hopefully there's no TSA agents watching your show.
No, I don't.
Might have ruined it for everybody else now that they shared it.
You didn't hear anything. These are not the lighters you are looking for.
Eduardo, again, we have you can check out the sommcigars.com. It has a store locator. Most of the big brands, we mentioned luxury earlier, like they have it on their website. Costa does not have any in Philly. I think I might have sent him one for himself, but you can ask him, you can bug him, and they'll get it for you. It is a soft flame and a torch. Works out to MSRP on it is $25, and it's absolutely fantastic. There's three different color schemes. So there's a blue, a black, and a gold. and then the new one will be hopefully the same burgundy color as the BDX.
That's a steal for $25.
I mean, I think it is, and I think it does. It works. It's a utilitarian item, and I don't think it. You know what? My local
I'm
store.
waiting because you're the one guy that will dabble into the accessory side, and you will make the most incredible multi-tool lighter out there. It won't just it'll have 6 different cuts on it: torch, soft flame, X-Acto knife, a nubber tool.
So I got annoyed. I'm a big believer that most of the greatest inventions come either from a combination of annoyance or laziness, or one of those two, right? Those are the driving. So this lighter came around from annoyance, just annoyance and laziness, really. I was sitting outside much like this in July of last year, and it was 117 degrees, and the only reason I remember it is because I looked in my lower right corner. My girlfriend went to visit her sister. I've worked 33 or 34 days straight, 10, 12, 15 hours a day. So I was just like done. This was post show. I looked to the side, basically the air was still, but you could see the little waves. So I already imagined how my day is going to go. So I plop into this chair. I take out my soft flame. I lit it up, gust of wind. I'm like, all right, I'll do it again. So I light it up again. So I go into this little corner, trying to light it like I'm doing crack crocs, and it didn't quite work. So then now I'm getting annoyed. Now I'm getting pissed because I already imagined how my day's going to go. So I get out, go into my house, get a torch. I don't want to leave it outside because Vegas gets a little hot. Especially not on a fire pit, just a smidge, right? So, I just, I got very, very annoyed, and I'm like, this kind of really annoyed me. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to source a better solution to this. So I go online and find like a bunch of them for like $70-$80 and, or $2,000 if you're DuPont. I'm like, there's got to be a better way. So I sourced a bunch of samples, ultimately got, a blue version of this in August and put them all into production, had them in time for the holidays. And really the idea was to give them all away for, just promos. And only 2 or 3 shops got them initially. And literally the moment they arrived, people were asking to buy them. So the shop owners really pressed me for an MSRP, kicked back. I pulled out an imaginary Excel sheet and ran a super, super complex pricing strategy. I'm lying all of these things. I literally, sat back and I was like, all right, this is a tool. It's a beautiful tool and it works. And if I stepped away from the business sense, the business owner, all of these things, I just looked at it as a consumer. If I bought this lighter and I lost it, how pissed would I be if I spent $100, $80, $75, $50, $30, $25? And I don't know about the rest of you, but I figured out that $25 is not enough to get over upset about. I was like, it happens.
Yeah, man,
so 20, yeah, like $25 ultimately ended up becoming the MSRP. And the number one response I get from across the board from retailers, apart from like, ooh, pretty, is that's just $25. I expect it to be a lot more. So I'm sure there's one person out there can tell me, I'm leaving money on the table and all of these other things, but it's meant to be a utilitarian item. I did get the greatest message from someone shortly after they bought it. So, and if you are watching this, sir, please reach out. I would love to know what happens 2 years from now with this letter. They asked me how to switch the flint out, and I reached out to the factory. They're like, well, you can disassemble it. So I went out, asked a buddy of mine how to disassemble all of it, and ultimately the flint is replaceable. However, my suggestion is if it 2 years down the line your flint does go out and needs to be replaced, please buy another one, or if not, like reach out to me, I'll send you one. Provided you can send me that broken one, because that's a nice little longevity study. I know that it's good enough for like 2 years. Oh, it's also dishwasher or not dishwasher, washer safe. I had a friend wash it and took it out of the washing machine, and it was good to go. So my sample size is 1, but it's 100% success rate.
That's a good say. Yeah, well, I mean, that's good. I mean, you can. I guess you could load your pants pocket with 3 or 4 of them and
Mhm.
see how well they work afterwards. I mean, you can do your own product testing.
Very
Yeah,
delicious.
this is
Excited
fantastic.
for you to try this.
Fantastic.
I can't wait to see the consistency notes. I've smoked probably 12, 15 boxes since the start of January of the Robustos, and they are carbon copies. And none of those like you're running low on ink and you're out of magenta or whatever. Like, no, this is like a copy 1-to-1. Just the consistency is incredible.
But that, you see, to me, that's the sign of a great brand. You know, some of the legacy and heritage brands out there. That's kind of the staple of a lot of their core line stuff is able to continue that consistency with what they manufacture out there. With kind of the small batch, the boutique, the midline brands out there, consistency is always an issue where it's like, wow, man, this year this smoke was fantastic this year, and there's something different about it the next year, and so on. Or man, I smoked 5 cigars out of the 5 I bought, and 3 of the 5 just kind of were different. So
I've experienced that. I mean, as long as you find good partners that you can trust, and you think about it long term and align strategically, I think that was a good moment with talking to Emmanuel from Eladio Diaz's factory, his son. I sent him before we even started, before the cigars were getting packaged, right? I ended up sending them like 100,000 rings. Oh, smoke bash. So I don't sell anything direct to consumer. So you'd have to go for one of the retailers. Most of the retailers stock them. Um, Depending on where you are, comes down to shipping. I mean, they'll ship cross country, so it's not really a problem. But most of them already stock it. Depending on the color that you pick, the blues sold out at the show. The black ones sold out a little while ago. So depending on what they have in stock, I do have the gold ones in stock still. So I can guarantee that is definitely available. But yeah, speaking back to consistency and that long-term planning, right? I sent him 100,000 rings, and he was a little not taken aback, but he was like, maybe like, why'd you start with that? And I think that also gave him an idea of like how serious I am, and this is what I'm doing. And I just said, well, hopefully I need to restock in April, realistically, but I am doing this for the long term, and the stability and the consistency and the integrity, both personally and as a brand, and the partners that we choose to work with. Right, the brand's tagline is "selective by choice," and that truly does mean selective by choice. Selective in who we work with, what we blend, who our partners are, who we work for on the retail, wholesale, manufacturing side, everything, start to bottom. So, who we get interviewed by. No, but it is. It really is. So,
well, I mean,
the embodiment of
if
integrity.
you're gonna
Like,
admit that, I think you may have just lost some customers. So I selected this. I selected this dope to interview me. I mean,
you're a legacy admission. It's fine.
yeah. uh,
Uh,
yeah, that's
Thanks for having me, though. Like, seriously,
oh, man,
it's always great to see you. And every time I see you, you get a big hug. So,
I'm just out here trying to get people to go to the other side of the humidor and try some of the deliciousness that gets overlooked. You know, that's
I'm a
all.
big
That's all.
I'm a big believer in just um, smoking the same stuff is comforting. I'm a big believer in just not developing palate blindness. And yes, while I do smoke a ton of my stuff because I like it, because it's kind of made for I made it for myself. I do actually smoke a ton of other brands for one simple reason. There are much better blenders than me, I'm sure, out there. So I want to see what they're doing. Also, it's market research. Plus, it's a nice write-off. So, on that side, it's interesting to see. I'm partial to some certain factories, and I'm sure I'll do something with them at some point. But I won't have it. But you can order it. It'll be there before PCA, before you even leave for Vegas. Or if you come to Vegas, there's 2 or 3 shops that stock it here locally. And then you can try and test it, take it on the plane. Don't let them know I told you this, but if you want to take a gamble.
Yeah. I'm I'm always impressed by when I talk to a lot of brands out there, and one of the biggest questions I usually ask them was if they're blending their own stuff, did the bug hit you to want to continue to do it or not? And you're one that the bug, it hits you. You like doing it. You enjoy what you're putting out, and you're very good at it. Again, everything I've had so far has been, you continue. It's a step up because when you hit a home run with the BDX, the next one's got to be better than that one, and the next one after that, you continuously kind of got to top yourself.
That's what keeps me up at night. Look, I can't lose any more hair. So at this point, it's just invested. So, if BDX was the benchmark, then the next one was going to be, all right, the Rioja, and then the next one is going to be that, but it can't go back. Otherwise you're regressing. So, I'm very, very excited for the Connecticut. I'm excited for a couple of different reasons. This is I have a very clear picture of who's going to enjoy this blend, how it was made for them. It's this very approachable, it's approachable entry level, which I think a lot of really great cigars have, and I think the Rioja has that as well. For a novice,
Randy touched on that on the Tuesday show, which she felt that this, is not an overpowering cigar. It's got a fantastic flavor profile. It has enough spice and kick to it that it's not going to overwhelm a newer smoker's palate, and that was what she brought up. And I have to agree with her that I think that all of your cigar, the BDX was the same way. Although the BDX was
much more of that,
bold on that. The flavors were bold. So if you're a newer smoker, it may be a little too much for you. But for the Rioja here, if you're newer to smoking, it's definitely not a cigar that's gonna kill your palate. Now, it is a complex cigar, and there's a lot going on. But if you want an enjoyable smoke that tastes good, because if you're newer, that's kind of where you're at. Is do I like it or do I not like it? Is it enjoyable or not enjoyable? That fits this. Don't worry about everything going on. Your mouth's going to be happy. It's definitely, it's definitely pleasure for your mouth hole.
You're right on that. Everything you said, again, that's what I love in cigars. Ones that are approachable enough that if you're just starting out, you'll recognize the quality. But if you're a more experienced smoker and I really want to dive into it, there's a plethora of flavors, whole new worlds. I do love Dominican Republic, and Rioja is an homage to Dominican Republic terroir because it's the whole blend has 5 different Dominican tobaccos and then a Mexican Sumatra, and then smoked by ash. If you're driving from SoCal, just stop by En Fuego in Henderson. It's 10 minutes away from the freeway. It's a great lounge, and if you reach out, I might be there that day, especially ahead of PCA. Plus, it's my home lounge, especially they're 24/7. I use that as my office. So, if you're on the Henderson side, so once you hit St. Rose, just drive all the way down until you hit Eastern, and then right, and then second light to the left. You can't miss it.
Yeah, my flight gets into Vegas at 8 a.m. on Thursday next week. I gotta leave. I gotta leave at 2:00 in the morning.
On Monday or Tuesday?
On Thursday morning.
Exciting. Wait, 8 a.m. in the morning?
Flight leave.
2 a.m. Okay, that's not bad. You still get the full day show, and you get to avoid all the craziness.
Well, since it doesn't start till Friday, and I get in at
And
8
Friday's
a.m.
all educational, right? I don't even.
I
Yeah.
don't, I don't know how they're handling everything. I don't know. All I know was, um, I don't know what Alan's plan is for the setup on everything, what he needs from me over there, all all of that. Like I'm there to support him and you know, help him as much as I can during the show. So
Great
I'm
guys,
kind
by
of,
the way. Really, really great guys. I really like Alan.
yeah,
Also, I had the terrible knowledge of being known. So he hit me up like randomly. I want to say two shows ago, and he's like, Vlad, and I turn around, and he's like, man, good to see you, blah blah blah, and I just feel completely stunned and like the biggest asshole in the world because I can't recognize. I can't even place him anywhere, and I'm like, I know I've done 117 events the year prior. I know at that point I was probably 60 events in, but to not recognize the guy, I was like, my man, I'm really, really sorry. I can't remember where I've met you. And he goes, that's okay, man. We never met. I follow you on Instagram. And I just had the worst, like, I know this is horrible. I don't want to be known from Instagram. But no, great guy. Super. I love his laughter. Very, very funny. And just a genuine, really, really cool person. So it's great to see him, right, thrive.
yeah, and he's been down in the DR the last week working on the new stuff that's working on the new stuff, and I've had a couple of the some of the new things he's been working on over the last year, and it's gonna be a great show. And if you're a fan of Family by Loyalty, there's definitely some, you know, what's coming down next week. I think you'll be very surprised and very happy because
Shout out to them. They're really great people.
yeah,
Alan's awesome.
and look, I'm honored he asked me to be a part of his team and work at second year in a row he's asked me to come and help him and work at his booth. So
Work
you
it,
know,
baby.
yeah, like I had no clue what I was doing last year. Look, I on the media side of things, totally, hey, I'm totally good on that side. Actually sitting there and trying to, I couldn't. I was trying to find my niche and what to do because I kept coming across things as like the media side of things and talking like I would on a show or as I'm doing a review on something, and I'm like, I don't think this is working. I think I need to. It took me most of the 4 days to kind of get in the groove of where I felt I needed to be.
How was it? How was it on that side versus media?
I prefer the media side way better.
Were you upset when any of the media guys showed up to ask you questions?
No, no,
I'm
not
kidding.
really.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Of course not. And I was like, they
No,
laughed.
they all came by and then they all wanted pictures.
That's great.
And it's like I'm one of you guys. What do you want pictures of me for? And they all came by and they all some of them had to come by and go live and look. Oh, look at who I found. I'm like,
That's awesome. That's
yeah,
really, really
hi,
fun.
okay, yeah, and Joe was at the booth across from us last year. So
Oh, that's awesome. That's funny. That's funny.
yeah, so
I got the Stogie Mag guys next to me. So I'm in between my booths. I'm in a really, really cool spot. I got La Polina and Matt in the company to my left, I want to say. To my south, it's also someone I really like. I can't remember who it is, but I like them. And then I have Ellie Blue to my north, and then to my east, the Stogie Mag. So I'm very, very happy with my placement.
I don't. I saw the map and I don't remember who we were by. I don't remember.
Are you in the right side of things?
I don't remember. It's a good. I think it's more towards the center. It's more towards the center.
Nice. You're gonna get all the restroom traffic.
So, it's more towards the center. So I thought, and it's definitely way better than last year's location. So I'm, I think it should be a good show.
We got. Are we on a time? Are we on a time frame here? I just want to know.
No, we ain't. We can go as long as you want.
All right, we done. So I was gonna go. This is really bothering me. I kind of want to try the other blend. The problem is I don't think this is. We are an hour and change in, right?
We're
Um,
at 1 hour and 1 hour exactly.
Nailed it. So this that has been primarily driven by that sweetness and the vanilla, the cedar, the oak, and just ton of sweetness. Finally hit into like these gingerbread notes. Like literally, if you ever had those gingerbread and cinnamon cookies, like the Benelux countries, like think uh, Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, you'll get those. You'll get those the speculatius cookies. It really tastes like that. Exactly like that. Very, very delicious. Just gives a beautiful note of baking spices, which you wouldn't expect from a cigar on the lighter side of things. But this is like full on gingerbread cookies and like ginger snaps.
So one thing I notice, especially here on the Toro on this, is that the vanilla and baking spices blend like beautifully with that just solid earth tone flavors. It's very nice because that vanilla hits you first, but then it's followed up immediately by the baking spices, and then you have that earthiness, that umami that kind of hits in the center, and then that light kind of a light dried fruitiness towards the back. I mean, it's beautiful.
I've had, funnily enough, now that you mentioned those notes on the BDX, while we were in Texas, one of the guys noticed that, said, you know what? The first few puffs, uh, he goes, the first few puffs kind of tasted like nori, like seaweed, like dried seaweed, or for the sushi. And I'm like, this guy's, it's like that makes no sense. So sure enough, I take one of the robustas and I light it up, and literally the first puff. Now that he said it, I'm like, yeah, I can see where he's going. Like that's kind of a weird note that I've never caught before. And I'm like, where'd you pick that up? He's like, I just had sushi for lunch. Like that's literally what it reminded me of. And I'm like, all right, cool.
I mean, I guess
By the way, in
your
this, now
palate
that
is
I mentioned,
influenced kind of. If you just ate, I mean, you're definitely
yeah,
gonna
I
have that
assumed it was
influence,
probably that portion more than anything else. And
you
then
know.
now this is like really coming out. The complexity is really coming out front now. I've also been paying a little bit more attention to this. I was focusing on you guys, but I took a puff and it literally tasted like chocolate ice cream, like literally chocolate ice cream. You know that it's not, apart obviously not as cold, but like you get that Nesquik, right? Like that type of sweetness and chocolate, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool.
Well, one of the biggest shockers to me was on a cigar, and I smoked, and I started as I was doing the retro hail. It was like retro hailing with creamy butter. It was exactly
Yeah,
what I was getting through, and it blew my. It was something I've never experienced in a cigar.
Kerrygold Irish butter, baby.
And I just like I go and I was like, it's like, man, that tastes like butter coming through the nose. And so now I'm like retroing every puff. I'm like, that is butter. And like my mind was like blown. It's like, I've never picked up that flavor in a retro in 20 some years of smoking. And it was fantastic.
So we can actually touch upon on the tasting profile side of things, right? I don't think I've touched upon it when we did the raw reviews. So, right, your sensory plate is up here, right? So when you're retroing, what you're really doing is you're pushing through the back of your throat for your retronasal passage, trying to get it through the back of your throat and through your nose. Now you want to. Oh, actually, in Texas, someone mentioned a different way. So I typically suggest, because it's easier for people, exhale 80% and then whatever, 85 to 90%, whatever's left over, close your mouth and then exhale. So he suggested doing it the other way, which I think organically doesn't really have a difference, but it might be easier. So take a puff. Don't exhale anything. Put your tongue on on the roof of your mouth, and then push the smoke slowly. Exhale through your nose, and you do the same thing as before. All right, Tyler asked, have you ever had a serious problem with a product or a factory, and how did you overcome it? What advice would you give for those difficult moments? All right, so you have two ways of doing it. I've encountered it not for my product, knock on wood. I've had three cigars out of two different brands that have encountered problems, and both times the solution was. Let me rephrase this. I gotta be diplomatic here. My solution was pull it back, all of it, and I did that. On all three of those cases, unilaterally. Both responses from the affected parties were leave it as is. Let me call it that without getting into more details. I've pulled product in all three of those situations for one simple reason. I'm a big believer that if or should you decide to support one of the whatever product, that product has to deliver. Spending 10, 12, 15, 20 bucks, whatever it is, spending any kind of money on a product and having it not perform is you essentially being cheated. And from an integrity standpoint, I also put myself in the shoes of a consumer. My first response would be, pardon my French, fuck that brand and that product. For the longevity and the protection of the brand, I decided to, pull that back and take an L. So yeah, the problem, if it does happen, and so far it hasn't. Yeah, there's been a few. I've had someone actually on my Corona gourds, right? So 2,600 of them made. All of them went out. One of them actually just happened in a Dallas event, and to me, no less. So I lit it up. There was a little bit of a mouse hole shortly after. Mouse hole is when there's a air bubble trapped underneath in the fillers, or really underneath the wrapper. So when you light it up, it basically combusts ahead of time, and it starts burning on the outside. It happened right at the start, so like about this much of a cigar was affected. So that's 1 out of 2,600. It happens. That's not something like a problem with a factory. That's just luck of the draw. And yeah, does it suck? Absolutely. Am I happy that it happened to me? Hell yeah. I would hate if it happened to a different consumer, to a consumer, especially someone who did buy a product. So I stand behind everything that I do, and if you do end up experiencing an issue, please let me know. If there is an issue, I err on the side of generosity in those situations. Someone actually reached out to me, and you could clearly see that it was shipping damage. When 3 out of the 5 cigars that were shipped in a 5-pack either had like light damage from shipping, you could see that the wrappers were cracked, and then the wrapper just burst over time. But the best side of it is the cigar still smoked the entire way around. So obviously, that was generously fixed, I believe. So my advice is, difficult moments, you grit through them and smile as you do it. And if there is an issue, you err on the side of generosity. That's my take.
Yeah.
I
No,
think it's the family side in me. So
yeah, when I started and when I was, and filming, I never edited anything I did. Once I hit that 30-second mark, it's too late. I just kept going. You see the mistakes, but I did have one. I was smoking as I was taking a puff, it blew out, and it was on film. And this was when I was relatively unknown to a lot of people out there, and I had no clue that manufacturers actually watch this stuff. But he reached out to me and apologized that it happened, and I was like, "Look, I get it. It happens. Look, it's a Lancero. I understand things like that happen, and especially the Lanceros. They tend to get rolled a bit too tight. They're hard cigars." I go, "But it's fine. It doesn't doesn't change the way I think about your product. I'm still a fan of what you manufacture and what you make, but he's he wanted to make it right to me, and I was like, you got nothing to make right. I actually just appreciate you reaching out and acknowledge, because if you were a big brand, you wouldn't care. You wouldn't care. How many times have we bought those expensive $30-$40 sticks and they fall apart, or they underperform, or there's an issue or problem? They don't care. You can send them 10 pictures in an email about all the issues, and you're just gonna get blown off. Smaller brands like yourself out there, quality control is super important to you, and the quality of the product of which your consumers are smoking are even more important. So a bad experience that'll hinder the growth of your brand out there. So even whether or not you compensated this person or not, the fact that you responded and reached out on that goes a long way with a lot of people out there.
And it happens. I mean, even in an industrialized process, right? Like, you can't get 100% efficiency and quality and no issues. Things are still going to happen. So to get it out of an artisanal product, someone who's better at math than me, 1 out of 2,600 is an infinitesimally small number. So whatever. Luckily, it happened to me rather than someone else. And if it does happen, I mean, it happens. Now, if it happens all the time, then that's an issue. But if it happens 1 out of 10,000, luck of the draw, unfortunately. That's
it's at the end of the day, it's a handmade product.
Exactly.
Not every single one's going to be perfect. Unfortunately,
it's about as close.
That the number of imperfections is at a minimum. That if you have one problem out of every 5,000 that are made, well, those are good odds. Those are good numbers. It's bound to happen. Just hope that it's not a fiver, not a single, because it's
exactly. And it's funny, because he mentioned, he's like, hey, I still enjoy the profile was very, very enjoyable. Like, I'm not asking for anything, or I don't want it reimbursed, and like everything was great. Like, I'd buy them again, right? No issues. And the analogy I made was, hey, it's a restaurant, and from my point of view, everybody is having a great time, except, you're the one table where the dish came out lukewarm or cold. It happens. No matter how good you are, it's going to happen. That's just like, the law of numbers, big numbers. So it happens.
It happens. And
again, if it does, please let me know. Like, I'd love to fix it.
Well, I've had no problems with this at all. Look at that burn. Perfect. Look at that wrapper.
This is really, really good. I'm excited for you to try this.
No, I'm excited to try it.
And then Tyler asks, are my wrappers from Turkey? They are not. The Rioja uses a Dominican Republic Corojo. The BDX uses a Mexican San Andreas. And then this uses a Ecuadorian Connecticut.
Is there any manufacturer out there you would like to work with that's on your radar? Like, I'd like to reach out to them.
I'd love to do something with the Plasencias. I know they're multiple big factories. I've always loved their tobacco. They've done incredible stuff, and the Honduran broadleaf is sourced from them, so it's tangentially involved. I would love to do something with AJ. I've been very impressed with stuff like Artesano del Tabaco that's coming out. Their El Pulpo Culebra, if you haven't smoked it, like, that's something really, really cool. And in fact, when we did smoke it last year, one of the other blends ended up taking what is like number 3 or top 5 spots. I really thought that. Hey, Michelle, how are you doing?
My work wife.
I thought that it was a really, really good blend and well worth it. Olmec from Foundation is incredible. I really love that, especially in the Claro and the Corona Gorda. That's a great cigar. So, yeah, I would love to do something with Plasencia's Oliva. Actually, all right, something that's a pine. I think it's never going to happen.
So let me name a brand and tell me which one you're not.
No. But here. If there was something that I would love to do, obviously that's never going to happen. I'd love to do something with Padron.
Oh,
Obviously, that's completely like either, yeah, like Padron or the Davidoff itself, like the Davidoff factory, the Oettinger factory. So the top of them, the original one. So that'd be something cool to do with. But maybe we'll see. We got a long road ahead. Maybe in the next 30, 40 years.
I would buy if you had something you did with the Padron factory. I'd buy everything that was manufactured.
I'd love to do something. That's probably one of those white elephant or white whales.
And George is such a nice guy too. He'd probably tell you, yeah, sure, yeah, come on in, and I he's one of the nice guys out there. That's why I thought that the collaboration with Fuente was like, I get it, two huge, massive families, but George is more of just a low key guy, soft spoken, and then you have Carlito, who's man is full of energy at his age. He's got 3 times the amount that most men his age have with energy. It's like, I don't know, it's the odd couple. I'm sure it works. I mean, I'm not going to pay that price for a cigar, but I'm sure it works. I'm sure it's a delicious smoke.
I'm interested to try that. I really am.
I want to really bad, but then I'm like,
and I'm sure it'll sell out instantly wherever it drops. So,
well, I mean, we're now pushing almost 2 years, and I'm sure at some point it will come. It will be released.
Hey, one of the taglines for one of the 2 brands involved is "We won't rush the hands of time." Right? So,
yes,
gets there when it gets there.
It does. It gets there when it gets there. And I'd love to. That would be one of the nerd out cigars, because you couldn't just buy one. You'd have to buy both, because you'd really have to see Carlito's vision and you'd have to see George's vision, and you'd have to smoke them, and you'd almost have to do it back to back.
That'd be a fun thing.
I think it would be a blast. I mean, I'm a nerd, so that's something I'd totally be down to do. I'm like, all right, finish this one. Let's do this one. Where are we at? Where do we get? What am I feeling between these two out there?
It'd be interesting. I'm looking forward to that cigar.
All right. So another question I like to ask people is, as you're coming with a brand, do each of the sticks all have stories to tell? Is the story you're telling in chronological order, or as your portfolio expands, is it going to tell a complete story where maybe your 7th drop is actually the 3rd chapter in the book? Not necessarily.
Yeah, if you want to look at it chronologically, yeah. So I started at the end rather than the beginning, right? So I started with the 50-year aged Premier Cruise, 50 years worth of tobacco, and then worked it all the way down to a light to medium Connecticut. So I probably should have done it the other way around, right? Start with light to medium, entry-level pricing, all the way up to a super expensive, super limited production and limited edition. So,
It may not necessarily be backwards.
Yeah.
It could just be you're starting the book off at the end of the story and working your way, because at some point it may come back around with more extremely rare and aged tobacco somewhere in that story.
Might be. I do know that for the limited edition that I'm going to do, it is going to be. I'm comfortable in the flavor profiles that I've developed so far, which is that medium body, medium strength, super complex. The next step is going to be a medium full to full cigar, both in terms of body and strength. So that is something that I'm blending outside of my comfort zone. We'll see how the El Titan blend works out. And if that doesn't, maybe we find a different partner. Maybe I go to Nicaragua. In fact, I have a factory in mind. I just casual random encounter in Dallas. We'll see how and if something happens at or after PCA.
That's one thing I've noticed about your blends, is that they are complex. There's a lot going on over there, but they're enjoyable for all skill levels of smokers. But if you're a nerd like me and you really like to sort out and break the cigar down on it, it's a challenge. And I like that challenge because it's like there's something here and what's this and holy cow, there's like four things going on at once and trying to sort all of that out. But also while you're in the midst of sorting it out, it changes. And it's like,
Something
oh,
new comes
whoa,
up.
whoa, whoa, you got to come back. I feel like I was just there.
It
Is
does.
that is that basically kind of going back to your days as a sommelier?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely. A great bottle of wine it's probably one of the cheapest ways to travel. And I don't mean by crushing multiple bottles. I mean, great bottle of wine can literally grab you by your hand and say, hey, this is where I live. Let me show you, where I'm from. That's what a really good bottle of wine does. And a cigar can do much the same thing. If you've experienced enough of Dominican tobacco and Dominican cigars, Rioja is definitely going to transport you there.
oh, it's a journey. It is. It's really a journey. It is. It takes you to a lot of places, and right when you think if you're one of those nerds, right when you think you figured something out, it changes, and all of a sudden your whole entire aspect of what you're going with is now like I gotta go back, go back.
Yeah. You just have to light up another cigar and try to nail that same moment again.
Yeah.
Very helpful on my side from a commercial standpoint.
Well, yeah, on your side. Well, I mean, your stuff's that good that you can smoke.
And that little 10-count box really helps.
But
You get to get a keepsake too.
but when you get to this point in the cigar on there, you don't want it to end. This nub is.
We got similar problems. It's starting to hurt a little bit.
Is I'm gonna have to break out the roofing nail nubber here.
I am getting there. There we go.
Yes, here we go, people.
Really good. This is exciting. Just save this one for first smoke of the morning.
I like that though. I like the complexity of what you put out, and I think that's one of the drawing factors for me with you as a brand out there is that you're gonna get you're giving me a thinking man's cigar. You're making me think when I smoke. You're testing my brain. You're testing my palate. And I appreciate that. In a good smoke is getting that test because it's definitely I like the challenge and all that. I don't want there's plenty of stuff out there that I can just kick back and chill and just all right, well, yeah, this is just a chill. But if I really want to challenge my brain, yours is one of those brands I go to.
It definitely, you're right. It definitely does that. However, if you do just want to kick back and enjoy, it's a great partner because the quality just stays there. It's just good at that point. If you don't want to pay attention, it's good and the quality is recognizable.
Can't do that. My brain doesn't work like that. My brain says there's so much going on here. It won't let me relax and just enjoy because the enjoyability is going to come from trying to sort all this out. And then, having somebody like you go, you're right. And wow, that's such a small little nuance in there that I wouldn't even tell people about that you're finding and picking up.
You guys caught mint. When we did the raw reviews, and I'm like, yeah, there is one and like a couple of puffs in there. Both you and Brandy caught that up, and I'm like, damn, that's really good. Like,
I really try. I really like to try and challenge my palate every now and then with different unique stuff. Like you said, AJ. Like I know with AJ, there's a lot of complexity in there because a lot tend to be pepper bombs, and you got to be able to get past that. And people who aren't pepperheads out there, tend to not care for AJ stuff because it's too much for them. But when you can work past all of that, there's such deep depth in what's in there, and
100%.
it's one of those that if you have a sophisticated palate, you pick up those subtleness of what's in there, not the pepper. Being able to the issue for most smokers out there is being able to sort out the pepper and pick up what's out there, and that's hard to do. I tend to like
Mothman over here. I don't know if you guys caught it. A Mothman just went after me. Some East Coast cryptids.
That's kind of what I like. But I'm also a big pepperhead, so I kind of get lost in the pepper because I enjoy it because there's such different, unique pepper profiles that are put in there on top of everything else. So I gotta get myself into a mindset of, okay, we got the pepper, great. Let's sort out the pepper. What else do we have?
Perfect. I agree. They're definitely complex. Once you wade through the pepper, like that's pretty much shows up, up front on the front portion of the tasting. So front, mid, back, and as long as you can wade through it, there's a ton of complexity. Whole new world, but it's in there. So definitely, like I said, I love the Artisano del Tabaco stuff that they do. That's really, really interesting, and that's all AJ. So very, very, Gus does some good stuff. Really, really good stuff.
Yeah, there's so much. There's really, I've the last 5 years stuff coming from a lot of the small brands has just been mind blowing out there. And I remember when I started that a lot of the small brands out there, the quality of the tobacco wasn't all that great. There were, you really had to, if you found something you liked, the brand was probably gone within 6 months out there. But really, the last 5 years, the quality of the tobacco has really overtaken what the big brands are putting out, and the quality of the manufacturing's has gone through the roof on that. The consistency is far better than how it used to be out there. And I'm like, why are people sleeping on this? I don't understand. Why are people sleeping on it?
I mean, I've enjoyed quite a few of the big guy releases, like a finished peated Scotch. I mean, yeah, right. So you get on that note, there's a great pairing if you guys want to follow through on this. So it's a smoked tea called Lapsang Souchung. That's like Lap, LAP, SANG. SOUCHANG. Look it up. It's a smoked tea, and depending on how you steep it, it can go anywhere in terms of how smoky it is. It can go from lightly peated, think you're like Johnny Black, all the way to like Ardbeg in terms of like how peaty it is. And it's a phenomenal partner to cigars. Really, really good. And it's non-alcoholic. Plus it's cheap, which always helps. So really, really something I highly recommend. Or if you catch me doing one of the pairing events, like you'll see it. By the way, sorry about the glare. There we go. That was a little headlight action right there. Good. How are we on time? I was going to light another one of these, but it's
You're more than welcome to. I will.
All right.
Light another one. I'll light another one.
Yeah, this even.
In fact, I will go with one of the Robustos this time.
All right, let's see it.
And I'm going to mix my cut up this time. I'm going to go with a different cut.
So I've actually had the first try a V cut on that Robusto. It changes the profile.
When we did the review, I did the V cut with this.
Yeah, one. I've only smoked the V cut recently, which I feel that was kind of like an oversight on my side. I probably should have done that. It was very interesting. It didn't change the profile so much, but increased the perception of body a little bit. I would put it as a medium, but it put it like a very solid medium, almost not going towards medium full, but it did push it towards a more solid, like on a scale of 1 to 5, it was like a 3.25 at that point.
All right, well, I'm going to try a straight cut because I haven't done a straight cut with this one.
You're going to love it.
Okay.
Let's see.
Joe, man, we'll see you next week, brother. Appreciate you hanging out with us, man. I'll come search you out, man. Don't worry. Out there. And I'm going to use the select draw on this as well. So I'm going to open up the airflow.
Okay, so this is one of the blends that was in the running for that LE. So let's see what it gives.
All right, let's see here what changes I get with the straight cut and with the select draw. See what we can hammer out here. Otis, good to see you, brother. Okay.
Tons of dark chocolate on this. Very different from what I remember. I also haven't smoked this in like a month, so bear with me.
All right. Let's see here.
I remember what I disliked about this particular blend.
What's up, Sin? How you doing, brother?
How you doing, Sin?
Oh, man. All right. So, off the bat, on there, with the select draw holes on that creaminess factor went from about a 7 to a 12. I mean, it is. Oof.
I've never tried it before. What is the select draw? I'm completely.
So the select draw here is essentially you have 3 holes. You don't go all the way in with it. You go about halfway on
Okay.
pegs. And there's no wrong way to do it. You can poke holes around the side, in the top. You can put holes anywhere you want in the cigar. And
Make it a little
essentially what it's doing is increasing the airflow through the cigar. So it's changing that chemical composition of the tobacco as it burns. So tends to provide brighter, bolder, richer flavors with that increased airflow through the cigar. I've found playing around with it that I've got my spot that I like where I hit on the side here and on the side over here on 2 sides.
Huh. All right.
So this way, I'm drawing out more air as I'm through the puff. And I say that first puff, whew, that creamy factor was it hit on a different level than it did when we did the review.
Huh. I have to try that out. I've never used it before, so that's something on my to-do list, just from a nerdy perspective.
Oh yeah, I totally got into it. When I reviewed it, I picked a cigar that I knew like the back of my hand. I tried multiple different holes, and I did multiple different types of cuts to see what I liked. And then I finally found what I liked, what works for me on it. And I'm like, there's really no wrong way to use it because it's essentially you play around with it, you find what works for you, And some people, I like started right at the foot and I poked some holes right at the foot. So how is it changed as we increase that airflow right off of the draw, right at the beginning? I did it in the middle. And then I've done it at the end. I've done it strictly on the top, off the top on the cap. I did it with straight cut, with a punch, with a V cut. And I'm just like, there's no wrong way to do this. But then I found going with 2 holes on each side just right up at the top. it works for me. It's just enough drastic change with that burn.
And does it affect the burn rate?
No,
Does it make the cigars? No.
no.
Because I'd assume
Everything burns. It's just
with the bigger right influx of oxygen, I'd assume it would burn a little bit quicker. But
I think like if you're a slow smoker, I don't think it's going to change. If you're a fast smoker, it may burn a bit faster out there.
True. I talked to someone who's got a
yes. Huh. So it does increase. Man, oh my goodness, man. All right, now there was a cigar that I felt was Cigar of the Year worthy already. Well, now I think you've just come into the running strictly by the increase with using that select draw. It does create bolder, richer flavor because essentially you're taking the same that increase in oxygen is changing that chemical composition of the burning tobacco. So the tobacco, again, it's not so much changing the flavor profile; it's just providing you an enhancement on the already profile that's there. All the same flavors I was getting off the bat when we did the review on this are here. It's just I'm totally picking up. It's brighter in my mouth. That creaminess, man. Oh my goodness. Dude. Wow.
Yeah, this sample, the humidity on this sample is a little bit high. Yeah, I got a 72%. It's a little bit higher. Oh, talking about humidity, what do you keep your stuff that you're going to smoke at? What humidity?
About 64. It all varies because this time of year, with it cold and dry, I keep my Tupperdoors at about 72 to 74. So it keeps the sticks at about 63 to 65 in general on it. In the summertime, I tend to drop that down to about 68, 69. Even though it's hotter, it's hot and dry. It's just not there's just such a difference between the winter dryness and the summer dryness.
I wouldn't know. We got like 3% humidity year round over here. So
one thing, when I, growing up in New Mexico in the desert, like in Vegas, it's hot and no humidity. And I always kept my stuff at the same year round. I usually kept my summertime I keep it around 70 to 72, and in the wintertime about 74. And that's where I learned to no longer use wood humidors. I moved to Tupperdoors because I had issues with the wood cracking and warping because of because of 3 to 5% humidity and 100-degree heat.
Yep. I have almost all of my stuff in Tupperwares apart from the stuff that I keep at the lounge locker, which is like massive. Could probably fit like 20, 30 boxes in there. So that's where I keep most of my stuff.
Yeah, if I had the way to kind of create my own ecosystem humidor with using wood, I would. But I like the Tupperdoors, and I think they work fantastic, and they do a great job. And I've never had a problem with any of my cigars. Little learning curve when I first started using them because there really wasn't a whole lot out there back in the late 2000, early 2000, 2007,
the late aughts.
Yeah, the early aughts. Let's say.
By the way,
so I had it was a learning experience for me.
I saw someone mention, what was the movie? I can't remember, but it was a movie from like 1998. And I look and it's like, 22, 23-year-old kid going, it's a movie from the late 1900s. What the fuck?
Starter question. Yes, you can tell very easily about a well humified cigar versus a dry cigar. One, the wrapper will really tell you a lot that you need to know. You know, picking it up and just slightly rolling it in your fingers like this, you can hear cracking. You know it's dry. Even though you don't see it cracking, the wrapper itself cracking, you can hear it. Also, if it's hard, if there's no buoyancy to the tobacco on it and it's hard, it's a dry cigar. And also when you smoke it, it smokes harsh because it's dry.
Correct. There should be a plasticity of sorts, and right in the scientific version, plasticity just means that when you press something, it wants to come back to its original form.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be springy enough that when you touch it, it kind of bounces back a little bit.
Yes.
But it shouldn't be mushy.
Yeah,
And
not mushy.
the other trick is you can also like roll it close to your ear, and there should be a tiny, tiny crack. Like not cracking is in terms of like there's actual damage, but there should be a little bit of springiness to it. This, for example, is just a little over humidified, and if you look at it, like I'll press it, and like it's really here. This is probably a better, right? Like you can, and then also like as the cigar heats, like you can tell it will become, softer as you go, just from its losing its actual like rigidity. But this is a little over humidified. So I'm probably not getting the best flavors out of it. But also remember what I hated about this blend. And while I love the profile, I know what I hated for it. And now we get a little bit technical. It's got so when you're tasting, there's I break it down in 3 different sections. You got the front palate, which is basically your teeth and just before it hits your tongue. Middle palate would be your tongue, and then back of your throat would be a finish. All right, a little last portion of it. So this it has beautiful flavors on the front palate. It kind of falls apart in the mid palate, but then it comes back on the finish, which is you kind of want that flavor rather than it go like this and then back up. You kind of want it to go whoop, like a little roller coaster. This is like inverted, so it goes whoop and then back up, which might not be a bad thing, but not something I necessarily look for in I was going to say wines, in cigars.
It's not so much why Cubans are talked about so much. It's look, I break that's a whole nother can of worms out there. I break it down to this. You have cigar smokers and you have Cuban smokers, and you got Cuban guy who tells you it's not a real cigar unless it's from Cuba. And then you have cigar smokers who just enjoy all cigars in general. Over the last 20, 25 years with Cubans, they have a lot of QC issues and problems. The cigars are not rolled correctly. The quality of the tobacco has fallen off. The flavors aren't necessarily all there anymore. And in America, it's because Cubans are illegal. So there's this tabooness to it where, I got something I'm not supposed to have. But in my personal opinion, if I never smoke another Cuban again in my life, I don't feel like I'm missing anything.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I don't feel like I'm missing anything. If I never get another one in my life, it's fine by me.
I have not smoked anything Cuban in forever. Actually, it's a lie. Last year I was visiting my family in Europe, so I tried. Let me rephrase that. I tried smoking a Cuban cigar with my dad, and it was just a very frustrating experience.
Falling apart, packed too tight.
No, there's just like no draw, and I love Oyo de Monterrey Double Corona is great. Right, bought 2 of them for me and my dad, and it was just like I developed a hernia just from trying to get it. Like I didn't have a perfect draw on me, and neither did he, and it was a very frustrating experience.
That's why you always got to carry around a drill bit. What's the best
Yeah, we used
draw?
like I fucked around with it and used a toothpick, but the knot was like halfway through, and it's a double Corona, so
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah,
go into it. Then it cracked the wrapper when it actually got there, and it was just a very frustrating experience. And
yeah.
knowing they dropped like 35, $40, that's like I really, really felt cheated, and more importantly, like if the profile sucked, like I would have been fine with that. But just from a technical standpoint, like the fact that it couldn't actually perform, like you couldn't actually draw, that was incredibly annoying, especially because
That's
at
been
that
one of
price.
my biggest issues. Really, the last few years with Cubans have been draw and the cigars falling apart. It's not so much that it's not rolled right, why the wrapper cracked on it, but it is also one of the reasons why. You know, a lot of it also is that the tobacco is not the great. It's not that high end tobacco like it used to be out there. They have they've overused a lot of their farms. It's lost a lot of its nutrients in the farms. They're no longer planning out their plots anymore. Where we're going to grow on years 1, 4, and 1, 4, and 7 on this. They're not. They're really kind of mass producing that tobacco out of the same fields every single year and not replenishing that soil. And so the quality has gone down.
Their production numbers have been going down steadily since probably 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
And then price obviously going up. So
Price gone up, and since the Chinese really bought Habanos out there, trying to get stuff out throughout the rest of the world has increased the cost, and most of what's going out is going to China.
I mean, you've seen they've just done that half wheel reported on it that the Cuban profits were up 30%, if I think, or no, 17% up year over year. So with half the production that it was 3 years ago, so they're doing something right.
Yeah, I mean, he's shipping out to 5 billion people. Yeah, you're gonna have a increase up on that. Oh, that's a loaded question, Otis.
It really is.
That's a loaded question. That's like when your wife asks you, "Does this make me look fat?" That's that kind of question.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell you what I'm partial to. I love Ecuadorian Habano as a wrapper because it can run the gamut from relatively light all the way to like those dark baking spices, chocolate notes, all of that, and anywhere in between. I like Dominican Corojo. I really do. So it really comes down to what do you really enjoy. Nicaragua obviously makes stellar. I mean, all over the world, really. That's like the best thing. Really,
I tend to be partial to Nicaraguan tobacco myself personally. I'm also partial to U.S. tobacco, which is, outside of the Pennsylvania and Connecticut, the rest of the tobacco that's grown in the U.S. is completely underutilized. But when it's used, it's fantastic.
Have you smoked FSG?
Yes.
From Florida?
Yes.
You like any of those blends?
I do like. So I like the FSG and the Bellicoso. I'm not a fan of the other sizes that they make.
Any particular reason?
I don't know, something about the Bellicoso kind of it really hits differently on the one on the draw and two on the flavors, how it comes across, and I don't get why, because it's the same exact size as the Toro, but the Toro, I don't know. I tend to be partial to Toros on my size, but the Bellicoso hits differently, and that tends to be the one that I like the best to go after on it. I'm a huge fan of Perique tobacco, which again underutilized in cigars, which I don't know why.
There's a couple that use it.
There are a couple out there that use it, but I guess it really, if you're looking for that different type of smokiness than what you get from like a fire cured tobacco, it's got that different kind. It's a sweet smoky. Is the best way I can put it. Sweet smoky.
Like maplewood, smoking it on maple.
Yeah,
Like
maybe.
meat on maple. Like is that like cherry wood? That's kind of the note.
Yeah,
About meat, right?
yeah, it has it's a sweet smoky to it, and I get it. Aging in the aging in those in the casks, can contribute to that. But I also think it's the fire cured method, that they utilize in it. So again, it's an underused tobacco and out there in cigars, and I think I think it works.
Well, you
I
guys,
think it works perfectly. Same thing. Kentucky Cherroot, I think, is completely underutilized. But there's a few out there brands that use it, but not like the they don't make them anymore. But the Henry Clay Stock Cut, that cigar is fantastic. But
never had that one before.
You can't get them anymore. They no longer make it. But that was one that used the Kentucky Cherroot in it, and it was fantastic. Right, not overly smoky. So if you're not a fan of fire cured or the smokiness, probably not something that you would like. But if you do enjoy a bit of smokiness, right amount, not overbearing on it. It's not like the Kentucky fire cured from Drew Estate where you really gotta like that heavy smokiness to enjoy that cigar. It was the perfect and it was right amount, and I got lucky at my local shop. They had a box that had been sitting there and it was all dusty of those. And I was like, holy cow, they haven't manufactured these since 2018. And he goes, yeah, I think that's been in here since 2018. I was like, well, I'm going to buy it because you can't get these anymore.
That's awesome. Yeah, you guys heard it here first on the 505 Cigar Review with Dan. This is not getting made into a limited edition. So you guys heard it here first.
Yeah.
This particular blend is not making the cut. The more I smoke it, the more I'm
something I've noticed on this cigar where I'm at is that sweet and salty factor is really it's really hitting the right marks. And where I'm expecting that sweet and salty to hit on my palate, it's hitting in that mid palate section instead of the front palate section where normally it should, and it's awesome. And
it's like salted Marcana almonds, if we're being like nerdy about it, right? Like big fat, you see like tons of oiliness to it, but also like I think Brandy said salted peanuts, or maybe you did when we did the
I put it to like the Christmas candied nuts is kind of what I put it at when we did the review. Yeah, it really hits differently with that.
Is there a way to rehumidify a cigar without changing the flavors?
Yes and no.
Yes and no. Right. Like we got to pick the lawyer answer here and go maybe. If it's been dried out forever, that's typically, not a lot you can do with it. But again, if it's been in cello, even if it has not been kept in the right way, you can slowly raise the humidity. It might take you months to get it where it needs to be, but you just got to gradually raise the humidity, because if you do, and still I'd probably wager that a lot of the essential oils and stuff that's in there has went away. But if you gradually rehumidify it, probably if you shock it too quickly, then the wrappers will crack and you'll get a whole bunch of other issues because it gets shocked. My alarm just went off, so let's call it at 9. That's a good 2 hours.
Sounds great. This beautiful stick on that. Oh, this is gorgeous.
So now do you understand why I went for like 12, 15 boxes of them?
Yeah, these things are fantastic. This is such a good smoke on that. Go on. Vlad ahead. Whatever you'd like to promote. I completely lost.
Just asking questions, man. We're here to answer them.
No, Otis, man. Love it. The whole point of the show is to have a good time and have fun, but also learning, educational experience. Like, I'm just a smoker who's spent 25, almost 25 years smoking cigars. But, you got a man like Vlad here who's a certified sommelier and has gone through all this different training. So he has a vast knowledge farther than I have in a lot of this. So,
Your palate's really, really good. Don't underestimate it. Like, you can nail stuff easily, and like I typically don't tend to not do a super deep dive. Just I try not to. But what the two of you did on that raw review, like you caught every single. There we go, Mothman back again. Every single note that was like, even that was present for only like 2 or 3 puffs, the two of you like picked it up. So that was very, very impressive. Like, kudos to you. And then I keep looking at your ash whenever it comes into like.
You like that, don't you?
Yeah, that's like very that. Like the factory will be very, very happy with that.
Yeah, you like that? Yeah, it's there. And man, Otis, this is the whole concept of the show. It provides some sort of education. If you leave here learning a little something and being new to the culture, you're curious and you got a lot of questions, man. That's what we're here for, to answer that. That's why a lot of the guests I bring on have a lot of different knowledge and experience that they can bring, whether it be from the manufacturing side, whether it be from being an owner, whether it be a shop, when I have shop owners on out there, the business side of things, or when I have other content creators on, their experiences as they grew and things that they've learned, to provide some sort of knowledge to help you, become to be a better smoker within out there, and to help yourself. It's the culture's fun and amazing, and there's a lot of great people in it. And being on both sides, being on the side as a consumer, being on the side working for a brand, and being on the side of media there, I have an insight to a little bit of all of it. So, I don't know it at all out there, and I don't ever claim to know it all or, anything. And I enjoy learning as much as anybody else. And when I get an opportunity to nerd out with a guy like Vlad here, man, I take it all in, because I'm going to learn something I didn't know, and then I can take that experience and use it for myself and share that with other people as well.
Thank you again for having me. This is like great. I love talking with you, and just in general, like every time I see you, and you always put great content. Also, I got to make a note to you and a couple other people. I got to change that picture, because that's from like July 2020. 4th of July 2020.
I know. I asked you to send me a picture. That was the picture you sent me, so I don't have a new one of I don't have a new one of you.
I got a better looking one. I gotta do a bit better on that. That was pretty good.
Even anything you'd like to promote before we sign off?
Yeah, I mean, keep apart from the 2 regular productions blend, which is the BDX, the Bordeaux, and the Rioja, which Dan and I have enjoyed throughout the evening. Keep an eye out for the new Connecticut. That'll be available in 5-packs in 2 different sizes, so a 5.5 by 52 and a 6.5 by 54. They should land in the $12 to $13 MSRP range, so expect them in probably first or second week of April, depending on shipping and all the other things from the show. But they should be available close by. Everything that the brand does MSRP wise is from $12 to $15, so very approachable from a price point. From a standpoint of price, it over delivers. I think not maybe a little biased, but I think they over deliver for the price. They offer an incredibly complex profile. BDX again, Dan's top 10 or top 5, top 10.
It was top 5.
Top 5.
It was top 5 in my top 10.
Hell yeah. And then, just keep an eye out. My social media is Vlad at Somm Cigars. I tend to post, or try to post, some educational content. I have a whole series that's like focusing on the flavor side of it. Keep an eye out. Probably this week, actually. I think I'll drop the first one on Wednesday. And I don't know when to keep an eye on it. It'll go out, and it's I think a 7 or 8 part series, no more than a minute. Again, no fancy equipment. It's just me smoking a Rioja and like diving into how you perceive things. So keep an eye on it. Be harsh critics, because I can't improve my presentation otherwise unless you guys start writing on me.
That's right. Everything you want, everything Vlad is down in the description. I've made it easy for you guys. You just click the link and it'll take you to everything that he's got out there. All website, social media, everything is posted down there below. And if you missed any portion of this show or would like to rewatch it, it will be downloaded and put up over on my Rumble page Wednesday morning. So you can rewatch and enjoy us two handsome men just chopping it up.
Early morning too. Like, let us know what you think on your drive to work.
On your drive, you listen to it while you're driving. You know, give you an opportunity there, Otis.
You'll miss the flamingo in the background, but that's okay. That's the number one question. Like, where's the flamingo and a bunch of these things? And I'm like, I got to make sure he's always in the background. The other one's faded, and I'll dive into it how the flamingos came to be. My girlfriend and I decided to do Costco shopping, which is a big test of any new relationship. So we set up, we wrote a list, everything's ready. I have it in Google Notes. I'm like, all right, this is all we're buying. I grab the cart. I walk through the door, and the first thing I see on the left side, the moment I walk through the door, were these flamingos, and I'm like, I gotta have them. Like, this is it. This is it. So talk about willpower. Literally dropped it right away.
Next Monday, even though I'll be leaving out, do have a show next Monday. Social media superstar, content darling, entrepreneur, yada, yada, yada. She does everything under the sun. You get there. Coco Jackson will be my guest. So that'll be a fun time kicking back with Coco. She's always a trip. And if you like fun personality, she's full of it out there. So she'll be a great time having her on. And of course, next Tuesday, Brandy and I will be back over on IG Live with another raw cigar reviews. We're going to sit down with a house blend from South Carolina that's drawn rave reviews from everybody about one of their house blend sticks. So we're going to sit down with the owner of the cigar shop and live review their house blend stick. So that'll be a lot of fun too.
That's going to be really exciting. I'm definitely going to jump in for that one. I want to see what it is. And then we'll see each other in Vegas. If you do end up, we'll jump on a live, I'm sure. I'll make it super official. I'll send you a calendar link so you can book our little 10, 15-minute hug chat, smoking the Connecticut, and we'll jump on live, and you guys can all ask a bunch of questions.
There you go. You got it. So that's it, guys. Be back next Monday. So appreciate it. Vlad, thank you so much. Everybody in the chat, you guys crushed it again. Great questions again this week from the chat. I love you guys. We'll see you next Monday. Take care. Be safe out there. Don't do anything Vlad and I wouldn't do because we're sweet and innocent boys. And we'll see you later. Everybody, peace.